Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Obelisk Lounge. Let me make sure I am live. Un momento. Un momento. Yee, I am. Okay. Let me turn myself down. All right, welcome everyone. This topic was voted, only got 3 votes, but this topic was voted, got 2 votes. Ouija boards versus other divination tools. If you voted for the follow-up to the Demiurge video, part 2 with the about the reincarnation loop. That live will be coming later on this week, so be on the lookout for it. I also got a few other videos coming out this week too, that I want to discuss. I want to discuss the UFO files that who just released them. Was it the FBI? I think it was the FBI. I want to say the CIA, but it was not the CIA. You would think that the CIA would be the ones releasing the UFO files, but they are not. It's the FBI. But anywho, I want to discuss that at some point this week as well. But for the people that join, thank you so much in advance for joining. And for anybody watching the replay, thank you in advance. I appreciate it. All right. So let's just go ahead and get started. So if this is your first time here, hello, my name is Justice. This is the Obelisk Lounge. Thanks for tuning into my channel. I'm a spiritualist and a diviner, and my goal here is to help people to understand and to connect with their purpose, activate their unique gifts and talents, to help you live a more liberated and intentional and aligned life so that you don't have to come back to Earth, okay? Unless you end up just having to come back here or you want to come back here. Right. So the topic with this video is obviously Ouija boards versus other forms of divination. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about why Ouija boards are more controversial compared to other forms of divination. Depending on your spiritual background or belief system, all forms of divination may be evil, demonic, all of those things to you. But I feel like universally there's like this thing about Ouija boards being more demonic. And so I was curious. So me being a spiritualist and also me having my eyes open just to the world, to spirituality, to just so many different things, I approach Ouija boards or controversial topics with an open mind, because I know that we have been programmed and conditioned to think that certain things are necessarily evil or demonic when really they're just not, when really it may just depends on the intention of the use. And so so when I sat down actually with my spirit guide, my main spirit guide, actually to get a better understanding of this, and after I did my own like little Googles to see what's the controversy about, what's the deal, I got some answers to my questions. So as I said, depending on your spiritual background, again, you might think that all forms of divination and necromancy are inherently evil. And the people who participate in those practices are talking to demons or they're going to hell or something crazy and extreme, but that's not always the case. So when divining or channeling information or talking to the formless, as I like to call them sometimes, just, different entities and spirits or different things like that don't have an actual physical form. When you're talking to the formless, including the Supreme Creator, because the Supreme Creator is formless. Of course, the Supreme and the archangels and your spirit guides and different divinities, of course, can present to us a certain way because that's how our human mind perceives and understands things. In the heavens, they're formless. We are formless even before we get into these earthly bodies, right? And choose how it is we're going to look and different things of that nature. But whenever you are talking to or communicating with the formless, it is always important to, including the Supreme Creator, it is always important to know and understand who it is you're talking to. Okay. And you got to know how to test the spirits by the spirit with the capital S. Okay. The spirit, and know that it be true. Right. So not knowing how to discern or test spirits is where a lot of people go wrong. So you pick up your cards, you pick up your spirit board, or you light your candle and you just be saying, "Spirit, hear us." It's like, which one? Because you got plenty all around you. How do you know which one is going to respond? What are your intentions? You know what I'm saying? Like when, with when you are communicating with this particular spirit. So you need to know which one you're talking to, and you need to have a clear intention of which one that you want to come forth in your reading, okay? Or in your channeling, right? Or even in your meditation, right? Whatever it is that you're doing where you are communicating with the spirit world, right? It is important to know who you're talking to and also how to test for sure to know that you're actually talking to that particular entity that it is that you have called forth, right? So, like I'm saying, like there are energies all around us, right? At all times, except for maybe when you're at home. But however, if you're a spiritual practitioner of any kind, um, well, mm, if your home is spiritually protected, either intentionally or unintentionally, by way of the creator, by way of your spiritual core, and different things of that nature, then you might not always have different spirits and entities and different things like that lingering around. However, I will say if you do practice spiritualism, you do have um, more than others, right? Or if you're interested in spiritualism, you may have more spirits around you than others because they are aware, or well, sometimes they're not always aware. It depends, because sometimes they're aware that you are aware of them, that or that you're perceiving them and different things of that nature. And then also, even if you're not a spiritualist or anything of the nature, you're just a regular old person, right, in the world, who does not know about any of these things, you can still have them all around you, because we pick up things throughout the day, like the different emotions and different things like that, or mood swings it is that we may have. Sometimes that's not always you. It can be. It most definitely and it probably is you, but it also could sometimes be something outside of yourself as well, influencing you in that way, right? But that's not to scare you, because sometimes you can just easily get rid of those things with a simple prayer. Okay. Yeah, you don't even need no special tool. Sometimes all you just need to just say, get out my house. You know what I'm saying? Or just whatever, right? That you're comfortable with and that that you know of, that you're aware of, right? Um, so with that being said, I'm looking at my notes. For those of you that have been joining me for the past few lives, y'all know I'm always gonna have my notes. But anywho, but that's believed, because I know that different spirits and entities and different things like that can always hitch a ride with us on our way home, or just out and about, and different things like that, or even just certain markings or smudging that an energy can have on you. Even if that particular entity is not with you, they can mark you, or their energy can leave an impression on you. So you have attachments and then you have impressions. So sometimes they're not always hitching a ride on you. Sometimes they just left an impression on you, right? And that's why I believe that Ouija boards can be a little bit more dangerous, just a little bit more dangerous than other forms of divination. But that's just my opinion. That's not a fact. So to get more information after my initial research, and then after I give you this bit of information, I'm also going to back up and give you like a brief history of them as well, so that you can have a clearer perspective of their place when it comes to spiritual tools to communicate, spiritual tools that help you to communicate with the formless or the unseen. Okay. So I asked one of my spirit guides, why do people have more chaotic experiences with Ouija boards compared to other forms of divination? And the answer was, some of it is subconscious and some of it is conscious anticipation. But other times it's because Ouija boards are a portal. So I said, what makes them a portal? Because cards aren't necessarily a portal. So what makes the Ouija board particularly different? Even though we all know that it's a portal, but I still wanted to understand why. And so I wanted to know as well, are there makers enchanting them? What's the deal? My spirit guide responded, they are portals because the planchette, which is the thing that you go around with, is shaped actually just like this. And everybody gonna be talking about Illuminati. Look at this no-name girl. She the Illuminati. But the planchette is shaped like that. But so the planchette acts as a pendulum, and the number and letters give whatever is responding or whatever, or whoever is responding on the other end, on the other side, an opportunity to play and communicate. So they are not inherently dangerous or magical. It's just the intention behind the use. But my spirit guide also went on to say this: there are some divination or spirit communication tools that call out to all forms of spirits, and the Ouija board is one of them, because it was not birthed out of a grounded spiritual practice or used over the years for that reason. So its purpose in our reality, talking about our reality here, like me and you, not there over there, not them over there, its reason for use and purpose has actually shifted. Okay, y'all pick up what I'm putting down. Spirit communication tools, my spirit guide went on to say, spirit communication tools designed from specific regions, belief systems, and etc. can still be just as dangerous. However, if a person's blood aligns, if their bloodline aligns with that modicum of spirit communication, then usually one of their spirit guides or ancestors or other deity who may be in that person's bloodline might be walking with that particular person for various reasons, is more inclined to come through and speak with that particular tool because it comes from the blood, right? It's in that it's in your blood, your bloodline. Whatever spiritual ally that it is that you have on the other side is more willing to speak and come through and talk to you and engage with you through that particular tool, because it's ordained and authorized through the blood, your blood, not the blood of Christ, but your bloodline. It's in your DNA, right? And so I was like, that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense to me, because I actually have a few examples. So as you all know, my clients that already know me, and even some of y'all who just watch casually on the channel, I use cartomancy, right? So I don't use tarot. My mode of card divination is cartomancy or cartomancy, however you want to say it. And that is divination with playing cards. I don't have my cards in me, but that's divination using playing cards. And my folks, when I say my folk, my ancestors, okay, they don't fool with no tarot. When I first started reading years ago, they were like, girl, we don't do that. We don't do that. Don't go on somewhere with that. We don't do that. Pick up these playing cards, right? That is what it is that we read with. And even a few years ago, I just picking on them, and not necessarily just picking on them, but just engaging with them. I attempted this tarot deck that I bought years ago. I was asking them a question. I was like, is it okay if I use this deck, even though I already knew the answer, use this deck to communicate with y'all? And the way them cards fell out, they said, we know you playing, but stop playing with us about using this tarot deck. We don't do this. That is not what we do. And it's because tarot is just not in my blood. My people traditionally use when I research my ancestry and my background, the use of them using playing cards makes so much sense, right? Giving the background of where it is that my folks come from, right, and where they migrated to, as well, and even where captured and enslaved at, obviously, as well. So they do playing cards, they do bone readings, they read with me throwing a pile of sticks on the ground, they read with natural and nature type things and elements. Even though playing cards are not necessarily natural in nature, I'm not going to go through the whole history of the French coming to Haiti and I'm not going to go through all that. Y'all can research that. But I've been I'm reading the comments. Give me one moment if you're watching the replay. And I will, the comments should be popping up on the screen if they are not available in the replay. And if you're here, don't forget to thumbs up. Boom shakalaka. Thanks. Boost me through the algo. Okay. Jay Allen said, I wonder if that also applies for the soul's past lives too. That is a really good question. And after I finish going through the rest of the video, I want to revisit that, Jay Allen. And I'm gonna ask one of my spirit guides and see on live. And then it's Bree Bree. Hi, Bree Bree. I don't know if I know you or if you're a client, but hello. I've been practicing, though I had mine for some years. My folks ain't gonna have no choice but to work with me. But be careful with that though, because if they don't want to use it, you also don't want to end up learning the hard way as to why they don't want to use it though. Right. So Bree Bree, be careful. I feel you, Bree Bree. But maybe one of your spirit guides might prefer to use tarot instead. So if your elevated ancestors don't want to read with your tarot, then maybe one of your spirit guides might. Because I have another story that I'm about to share in a little bit too about my Gitana spirit guide, who are colloquially and I think inappropriately now it's a politically incorrect word. A Gitana is a gypsy. Which is a slur now. So, but yeah, I have a story I'm about to share about her soon. But yeah, my ancestors, they do not, tarot is not them playing cards and giving the way that our family migrated. When I look at our history, I'm like, oh, it makes so much sense. They read with playing cards and the Lenormand deck. Okay. Oh, and then bones and shells and my pendulum. But when I say bone readings, yes, sometimes they do include actual bones from like animals and different like animal carcasses and things that you may discard. Like if you eaten a chicken, like or something like that, like you may take the wishbone off the chicken, or if you find some buffalo teeth, or if you order some, but like like certain things like that. But they're also with trinkets too. So like shells, my Gitana guide, she'll read with marbles, and my folks will read too. So like we read with different things of that nature. So which is what prompted my spirit communication classes. Actually, the creator prompted me with these classes, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Let me see this next comment. Like if your soul is connected to a specific divination system that is practiced in the past. Yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't even ask my guide that. Yeah. Yeah, that can definitely be a thing. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. Your soul as well. So just because we may have certain interests in different things like that here on Earth, doesn't necessarily always mean that that's an interest that we should practice with. And if you do practice, maybe practice with your higher self, right? Or your order, whatever you want to call, which order your higher self are not the same thing. I actually talk about that in my Spirit Communication 102 class. I break that down so that you can actually, but anywho, I talk about that in Spirit 102 class, which is coming up May 31st, Sunday, May 31st. But yes, if your soul is connected to a specific divination system, then that you used in the past, yes, you can still use that same divination system. It just, if you are reading with an external source, like your elevated ancestors, because ancestors, I'm not going to get into this because I talk about this in my 103. I talk about this in Spirit Communication 103. But different spiritual beings within your spiritual core may read with different things. Like I can't read tarot with ancestors, but I can read my tarot with my Gitana guide. But I'm not interested in reading tarot because I love cartomancy more. It's more, I feel like it's more, you get more information. And it's a little bit more diverse or open. I'm trying to find a word like it's more encompassing. It's more encompassing. So I do prefer cartomancy. But anywho, it's not about what I prefer. It's about what you're supposed to be using. Boom shakalaka. Okay. But anywho, I digress. Let me get back on topic. If y'all are watching the playback, my apologies, but willfully you are finding that conversation and the interaction with the chat useful for you. And thank y'all for interacting too, Bree Bree and Jay Allen. Thank y'all. Let me see. Yes, so I shared about how my ancestors don't want to use tarot, but now let me share a brief story with you about my Gitana guide, going back to the Ouija board thing, right? So my Gitana, like I said, she will read almost, and she just showed up too now that I'm talking about. I can see her and feel her in my peripheral. It's so funny. Hey girl, how you doing? But Yeah, she'll read almost anything with me except for a Ouija board, right? And then also she won't read stuff that's out of my scope or practice too, right? So yeah. So she actually shared a story with me about the time she used a talking board, a spirit board during her incarnation. So um great distinction between who we're asking to guide the reading. Yes, that is important. Yes, always. But anywho, so one day my Gitana guide, okay, she had used the board a few different times with a few other different people that she used to read with or hang with, right? And so this one time she would ended up using the board by herself, which if you know the rules of a Ouija board, one of the rules is to not use it by yourself. Now that's a rule specific to the Ouija style type of spirit boards, talking boards, etc. So she said, although she would sense this particular presence at times when she used it always went away after she closed the session. But she said this time when she used it by herself, it snuck its way it snuck its way into her life, and it was such a pest. It was such a nuisance, she said. She said it would hide her divination tools when she was getting ready to go and be with the customer. It would try to interfere with her readings, give her wrong information, or like try to confuse her and different things like that, try to cloud her judgment and different things like that in her readings. And it would just play a lot of different tricks and different things like that in her home. It would hide different things around the house and so many just other different things. It would keep her up at night. So she went to a shaman in her spiritual community, and they were actually able to get rid of that spirit and elevate it. And so during the ceremony, she found that this entity that had been haunting her was actually a little English Scottish boy who had transformed into this spirit, into this particular haunting spirit in the world due to abandonment, fear, and abuse he suffered at the hands of his mothers while he was here on earth, because this boy died as a boy. Okay, so after the shaman was able to elevate and release his spirit from not only my Gitana guide, not only by the I was reading comment, but I had to go back. Where was I? Where was I? Don't look at the comments just yet. Just dance. Yes, she was able to. Once the shaman was able to elevate the little boy, for one, get him off of my Gitana guide, and then capture him to elevate his spirit. He transformed back into his little English Scottish boy self. And so my Gitana guide said that he had transformed into this entity, this haunting, disruptive entity due to the abandonment, fear, and abuse he suffered at the hands of his mother, and just other different people like that on earth. And she was a little bit more graphic a little bit with me more, but just for the sake of this video, I don't want to be too graphic, but those were the primary things that he experienced: abandonment, fear, and abuse. And so all of those emotions caused him to turn into this haunting entity that actually came out of the board, right? So she gave me permission to share that story with you all, with whomever may watch this video, to provide you with some further insight as to why you need to be mindful if you are going to use this board, because ultimately we all got free will. Do what you want to do. I ain't got no skin in the game. I'm not going to tell you not to use it. I'm not going to tell you also to use it either. I'm going to tell you to use the tool that is aligned with your blood and that is aligned, as someone brought up in the comments, your soul. Right? And sometimes that takes practice. It takes that intuitive development to know. Like for me, years ago with the tarot deck, my folks, like, didn't nobody have to tell me that. Like my folks told me, because at that point I was already reading cartomancy. But I'm always, I'm a reader. I can just read. I can read. I can channel. I can do everything. I don't even need any tools. So I'm always learning like new, like little spiritual things, and like looking to understand certain things and how they work, and not necessarily just in regards to divination, but in all things spiritual, right? All things spiritual and all things mental. But yeah. So she gave me permission to share that story with you all. So take heed. Take heed, use it, use it to help you, use it tonight. Thank you for watching. Okay. But anywho, I'm about to answer these questions in the chat really quickly. And then I'm going to talk about the history really briefly to just tie all of this all together. Let me scroll back. I'm so happy to have some interaction in the chat and to not be on live by myself. This is so neat. Great distinction between who we're talking to. Yes. I wish people explained more about certain aspects of our ancestors. Like an ancestor could be for your highest good, but they may have different beliefs for you. Precisely. I talk about that in my in my Spirit Communication 103 class. I talk about that in depth and in detail because it's important. Because one thing about it, thank you so much, Bree, for bringing that up. It is very important that you do the will of your destiny and not the will of the destiny of the people that necessarily came before you. Because as you do your will, their will be done as well. And your will should be aligned with the Creator's will, right? The true God's will for your life. On down from your Inikejio room or your higher self, right? On down to your own head of your spirit, your Ori, right? In some traditions, I'm not going to teach from that cosmology, but more so from a universal perspective. So your higher self and the spirit of your head, which I go into detail with in Spirit Communication 102, and how to communicate and work with your higher self. And I'll break that down. And you're here to do the will of that, what you chose when you were in heaven to come down here. And if you don't believe in that concept of, that you chose it, then that part doesn't matter. Throw that part out if you don't believe that. But still, what is your will? It's not the will to do what your folks did. And I am an ancestral practitioner. I work with my folks. I work with my folks and I work with other deity. I am a spiritualist. I am an enchantress. Okay? I am all of the things. All of the things and more. And so my goal each and every day is to not do their will, but to do my will. Because as I do my will, the will that I was called here on earth to do, then their will be done as well. And I'm not just saying that, I've actually experienced that. When I first started my ancestral spiritual practice, I've been on my spiritual journey for about studying metaphysics for at least the past 15 plus years. You know what I'm saying? And I started ancestral veneration about maybe 9 or so years ago, maybe almost 9. I don't know. It's been a minute. So, and I noticed that as I grew and expanded and evolved, so did they. So did the way I worked with them. That also grew and evolved. And I could feel it. So it's like I didn't even have to do certain works and different things like that at my altar all the time. I didn't have to go and do, certain things. Like it just changed. And I'll talk about that more in depth in my Spirit Communication 103 class, because I don't believe in sharing everything for the public, but for the people that come and take that class, I will go in more detail about what that means and what that looks like. And I'm also just not advertising my class, but it's like everything that I'm talking about is interconnected. It's just going back to the class. So that's not my intention to just bombard you with these classes. But the reason why the true God, the supreme creator, the prime universal supreme creator, charged me with teaching these classes is to help people to safely connect with, with their spiritual core, to learn who it is that they're talking to. That's why class 1 in the series is discerning the voice of God. That's Spirit Communication 101. The creator is your foundation to everything. Period. The creator is your foundation. And if you don't believe in that, then this course of classes may not be for you, and that's fine. Just, continue to watch, as if you want to or not. It's just not, I'm not for everybody because I'm not for everybody. Okay. Justice ain't never been for everybody. Okay. So what justice brings to the world, to the table, it ain't going to be for everybody. Okay. The creator has told me that personally, okay, and as well as my folks. So if this speaks to you, then these sets of classes are for you. So 101 helps you with your foundation. 102 helps you with the next part of your foundation, your higher self. Before you try to communicate and go to any other entity or deity that might be reaching out to you, or what you think might be reaching out to you, it's important to know first, okay, let me go to the creator about this to see if, just because they want to work with me and I'm attractive to this particular spirit or this particular deity, is it really my will to do so? Or are they only servicing their will? Right? What do I get out of this deal? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it? What's in it for me? You know, and different things like that. And that is lengthy too. I can say a lot about that as well. But then 102, you got to know how to talk. You got to know how to, first of all, understand your higher self. What is the higher self? Is the higher self everything that the people on this here internet and TikTok and everywhere else, like, is that truly what the what the higher self is, or is it more, or is it deeper? And so we talk about that in 102. And one thing I want to say is the information that I teach in this class, in these classes, is not information that you get online. It's not. It's not generic information that you get online or in a book. Okay. These classes are particularly curated from these particular divinities in my spiritual court. The prime divine, right? The prime divine one being the creator. The next one being your higher self. The next one being my elevated ancestors from the ancestral realm. They're going to be talking in detail about the ancestral realm. I'm so excited about that class. Because again, it's not information that you just will find online or in a book. This is all very unique information. If you know me, I'm not a regurgitator. I do not believe in just regurgitating information. I believe in testing the spirit by the spirit and knowing them to be true and figuring out the truth of my own. My name is Justice, for crying out loud. What does justice mean? I'll let you Google. Okay. But, and 104 talks about the realms of your spiritual court. That's going to be the spirit guide class, because they are the realm, the outside of your spiritual court. Okay. And they come in many different colors, many different ways of being. I remember one of my clients years ago, we were doing an Akashic Records reading, and she was doing specific, or he or she, I don't remember, it doesn't matter, their gender. But this person, they were doing a spiritual court reading. They wanted to know who their spirit guides and different things like that were. And one of their spirit guides actually came forth as a ball of light. They did not take on any form. And they were a ball of light specifically from the fifth dimension. They were just a green ball of light. And they showed me a place where this particular class of spirit guide, class, race, whatever, of spirit guide, where they are just these different little balls of light. Other spirit guides have come up as sacred magi, like ancient Chinese magi. Some of them have come up as beings of light. I remember one of my clients has a spirit guide that is literally a being of light. And when I gazed at this being, I had to squint my physical eyes. Like, I was like, oh my God, they blinded me. I almost can't see. Like, it is just so neat and so cool. So, and it's all very rewarding. So I say all of that to help give you a true scope and anticipation of what to expect with these classes. So, and you see the schedule there. It's been there for the past 7 minutes. I've been talking on this particular topic. But yeah, let me go back to the comment section. And it's Bree said, you as a descendant may believe that it's safe to have more than one legal long-term income, but your ancestors may believe that you should have only one. No, yes, Bree, that makes total and complete sense. Yeah. You on the right track. Come on, good sense. You got good sense in your head. Yes. But I'm saying those may be your elevated answers that actually do support you. Yeah, they might be. Yeah, and there's levels to elevation as well, right? There's levels to elevation, because they can be elevated to not cause you harm, but then also elevation too are the ones who are making sure that you do your will, because they understand in the grander scheme of things, and you doing your will, what it is that you were supposed to, what it is that you were called here on this earth to do, will in turn elevate them as well. So there's no need for, you doing what it is that you're supposed to do is doing the will of your ancestors. The elevated ones understand that, but there's levels to elevation. She says, that's funny. I always thought of a Ouija board as those scary movies. I never want to ever ratify that, girl. You bet not. You bet not, Bree. Let me see. That's funny. I read that. I always believe that anything as of a specific desire is that you most definitely have spirits in your bloodline for exactly that. Yes, though you still have to proceed with caution before a deity. Precisely. And you need to proceed with caution with your ancestors too. Because another thing, going back to 101 and 102, 101 and 102, if it's for you to take 103 and 104, it will be for revealed to you in 101 and 102. Because some people are just supposed to stop at God and their higher self. That's it. Some people are meant to go on and work with their ancestors, talk with their ancestors. Some people are meant to do that. And if you're meant to work with the ancestors, then you more than likely are meant to work with the spirit guides as well. So that's also why the classes are ordered in that way. So if you, yeah, basically just what I just said. 101 and 102. If you're supposed to know, if you want to know if you are meant to work with them or how to work with them, it will be revealed to you in 101 and 102 because there is a 21-day activation / attunement period that it is that I have people go through. Or not even me, the creator, and then your higher self, so that you can learn to build that relationship and truly understand their voice, their presence, how they show up for you, how they show up for you specifically. I've seen one of the balls of light in mine. It was maybe white or light yellow. Yeah. I like the little balls of light when they show up. Yeah. You seem like you would have the balls of light. Little balls of light. I sometimes wonder if certain ancestors F with each other in those other realms or if they mirror here in real life. Like this aunt don't like. Yeah, that's the thing. Especially when they're unevolved. Especially when they unelevated. Like that is a thing, Bree. As above, so below is a real thing. As within, so without, it is a real thing. If you go over there, if you die, okay, and go over there, not you directly, because we pray long life over Bree and Jay Allen in this chat. You know, we pray long life, longevity. Yes, we pray. But if somebody dies and they hate Aunt Patty, they gonna hate that bit when they come over there too. It ain't gonna change until they elevate and evolve, you know. Then they may just be neutral. It may not be hate, it'll just be neutral. You know what I'm saying? Can you go over what you'll cover in the realms of your spiritual court again? Oh, you mean the realm? Yeah, the realm. Yeah. Okay. So in that class, we're talking about the spirit guides. That class, we're going to be talking about your spirit guides, and I'm still developing, working on the outline in the content for that class. I'm working with my spirit guides to develop that, but it's going to be dedicated all to the spirit guides and how to identify your guides, which guide, you know what I'm saying, may want to primarily work with you, how to identify new spirit guides that might come along to help you. They're helping me right now. How I feel them talking through the middle of my back. What did y'all say? How to identify new guides that might come along to help and support you in your journey. Is this guide long term? Is this short term? Who are the main primary guides that were present when you were being born into in the world? So those are going to be the guides that it is that you have throughout the duration of your life, because our spirit guides and spiritual court can expand. It can expand, and then it can also go back to its original placement. And so these classes also set you up for divination. So if you want to learn how to read certain things, or you know what to read with, these classes help to set you up for proper divination, so that you know how to call on the creator, your higher self, your ancestors, and your spirit guides to help and assist you in your readings, but then to also protect you in your readings from taking on any negative and adversarial energies. So if you are wanting to learn how to divine and channel, communicate, mediumship, these are your foundational classes. Yes, we accept longevity. Let me see. Jay Allen. Oh my gosh, I got to get back to the topic of the video. Hopefully, hopefully those of you watching the replay are watching on like 2x speed. I watch stuff on 2x speed, 1.5 speed if I really need to listen. But yeah, it was in a hill. Okay, let me go back to the brief history and then I'm going to go back to the chat. Okay, so Ouija boards were, let me take this down. Ouija boards were first patented. Why can't I say that word? What's wrong with me? I know how to speak. I studied etymology. You know what I'm saying? I know how to speak and pronounce. I'm very articulate. But anywho, Ouija boards were first patented in 1890 by Elijah J. Bond in Baltimore, Maryland. And they went into production the following year, 1891, by the Kenner Novelty Company. Many years later, Hasbro, which we all know to be the major gaming conglomerate, right? In 1991, after a few different rights transfers and acquisitions over the years, eventually Hasbro ended up with the patent and the right to the Ouija board, and so they, of course, began to distribute them. So, as a matter of fact, y'all, one of the people that acquired that brand after it went into its initial production, so his name was William Fuld. Okay, so Mr. Fuld, okay, William died in 1927 after falling from the roof of a building that the board that he used at the time, the Ouija board that he used at the time, told him to build this particular roof. Now, okay, it was the roof of a factory, right, that he had built. He fell off the roof, okay? And while he was being transported, mind you, he was alive when he was being transported. While he was being transported, he supposedly one of his fractured ribs pierced his heart. And that is what ultimately led to his demise, supposedly, allegedly. Ain't that crazy? And the source of him falling, I got that from the Nevermore Haunt website. If you wanted to check them out, the Nevermore Haunt. But that's why I say it's important to use divining tools that are in alignment with your blood and or your soul, right? Don't go outside of your wheelhouse if you don't know what it is that you're doing, if you don't know how to discern different spirits and how to also cast them out. Because you can know how to discern them, but do you know how to get them up out of there? You know what I'm saying? That's another thing. You got to know how to get them up out of there, okay? So, and if divining isn't for you at all, then stick to a simple prayer and meditation routine to get the answers to your questions that it is that you need when seeking spiritual help and support for your own accord. Now we're going to another person. But however, we also know that that's not the first time a spirit board or talking board, which is what they were commonly referred to, was ever used. In China, during the Song Dynasty, this was around 5th century AD, they would suspend small little sticks. They would suspend small little sticks or sieves, you know, those things that you shake powder out with. They would suspend that over some sand or some ash when they were talking. And so the spirit that it is that they would be talking to would actually be tracing the different Chinese characters and different things like that to communicate with them. And so that was one of the earliest noted versions of a spirit board or a talking board. So a Ouija board is not anything that is just truly unique, right? A few years ago, when I was under the tutelage of a certain spiritual teacher, I also, underneath them, I also had designed a spirit board, but that spirit board, I ended up throwing it out when I left them years later because it just didn't resonate. It didn't resonate. It was symbols and different things like that on the board that was more so that aligned with them and their spiritual core. And so I'm actually in the process now redesigning my own spiritual board, spirit board that is in alignment with myself and my spiritual core, symbols that's aligned with us. But yeah, and they weren't like evil symbols. They would be like a bumblebee or a ship. It was like nothing esoteric, very mundane symbols. But they didn't align with me, so I threw it out, even though I could read with it. And my focus also didn't mind reading with it. I got a lot of accurate readings, okay, out of that spirit board. I remember one time when I was using it, I was in like our group chat at the time when I was under the tutelage of this one particular spiritual teacher amongst some other students. And this was around the time Joe Biden was getting ready to either become president, or this was before his presidency. Anywho, I did a reading and I was like, oh, using the spirit board, I said, oh, Joe Biden's son, him and his son go get in trouble for using that booger sugar. Okay, that sugar booger, whatever, that booger sugar, that powder. Okay, powder. Y'all know what I mean when I say powder. POWDA, powder. Okay, they were using that cocaine. Okay, in that White House. And so, the reading that I did predicted that, and then years later, it came out that his son, in fact, was dropping dime bags of powder all over the White House library and different things like that while they having correspondence dinners and different things. I predicted a lot of stuff that actually came to fruition with that board. That's why I really do enjoy bone readings. They're very intrinsic to me and my people. But yeah, it was funny. That was funny. But anywho, let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so really briefly, other forms, comparing it to other forms of divination. So to conclude, 46 minutes in, it's best that your spiritual tools be aligned with your elevated spirit, your elevated ancestors, your spirit guides, or particular deity in your spiritual core, as well as your higher self as well, too, right? Because you might have a higher self that don't want you using them tools. And if your higher self don't want you using them tools, it is best that you not use those tools and go against the specific instruction, okay, of your higher self, because warning comes before destruction. I'm telling you what I know, not what I heard. Warning comes before destruction, okay? But and whatever that tool is, it's the best that, and it's best that it's a tool that they have adopted in their practices, because they are more inclined to be fond enough of them to actually speak directly to you through them. So such as tarot, right? Cartomancy, bone readings, pyromancy, reading with fire, or readings with ash, right? Tea leaves, picking up random sticks, like I said earlier, you know what I'm saying? And, enchanting, praying over those sticks, and then letting them fall with May. Being able to read with different marbles or trinkets, even little dog chewing bones, or just different things like that. Like being able to divine, using all different types of things. It's important if you do want to divine and different things like that, it's important to use a system that is congruent with your bloodline and with your soul's urge. So, and again, from my research and understanding, the Ouija board hasn't been adopted by an indigenous or ancestral or grounded established spiritual practice or belief system. Now, I'm sure they're used in certain left-handed spiritual orders and different things of that nature that I won't mention, and it's not the Illuminati, okay? Maybe not even Satanism and Luciferianism, but some other ones, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure they probably use them, but honestly, they also probably use things beyond a spirit board, or beyond a Ouija board specifically, not just a spirit board, but a Ouija board. But anywho, that concludes the video, or the topic rather, but I'm going to go and look at the rest of these comments. So stick around if you're watching the replay, if you want to. If not, thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Put your notification bell on so that you know when I'm going to talk about, or when I'm going to, go live again and talk about the next topic, which is going to be the reincarnation loop. It'll be sometime this week. Let's see. We accept the longevity. Yes. It was in a hypnosis, life between live session in the spirit realm. I don't know then or where. Oh, when you saw the white or the yellow spirit guide, that's an orb, or not an orb, but it's just a ball of light, a little small ball of light too. It's not an orb. They're not orbs, but like a little small ball of light. I don't know when or where they're from. I just saw with the different animal type beings too, like a rabbit type of thing. Yeah, when I was with that particular client, they told me that they are from the 5th dimension. Sometimes they can. They said in that reading that sometimes they will materialize if they want to, but they prefer not to. They don't like the density of our 3D world. They prefer to stay as balls of light, or to go even higher when they're going beyond the fifth dimension. And they are housed primarily on the fifth dimension, or not housed, but they hang out in the fifth dimension, but they're from a dimension way beyond. I want to say, I feel like my spirit got to tell me like they're from like the 13th dimension. But when they come down to the fifth dimension, so that they're low enough to communicate with us, right? When they're low enough to communicate with us, that's how they show up as the ball of light. Because do I feel like getting into the dimensions right now to explain this further? Not really. But a question just popped up. Let me see. Let me see. Which dimension are most guides, or does it depend? That's a good question. Let me see if my folks. Oh, all over. They're from all over. Which dimension are most guides in? Because anybody can be a guide. Me and you can, like when we go on, we could be somebody's spirit guide. Even here on Earth, actively, you can still be somebody's guide. So they're from literally all types of dimensions. But your highly elevated and evolved beings that probably did not have a human incarnation, or if they did have a human incarnation and they have evolved, they have returned to the all, right? They have returned to this to the supreme creator, and they're outside of the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th dimension, and they're in that 13th dimensional space. Where was I going with this question? Then yeah, most of them can be there, Jay Allen. They can be there. And eventually that's the goal for all of us. Well, I ain't gonna say for all of us, but because some people, they souls oriented a little bit differently. So they soul and they spirit, okay, because them two separate things. They soul and they spirit oriented a little bit differently. So that's not always their goal. But eventually the Supreme's goal is for all of us to get to that place. So I guess eventually, yeah, they will be, since that's one of the goals of the Supreme Creator. But yeah. I'd like to know for these classes if you'll have any playback so we can purchase at a later time. I'll be offered. See, Bree, I went back and forth. So for the classes, you are going to get a recording for the people that attend live. So for the playbacks, my folks have instructed me to keep these classes as live teachings because the information is very important. And it's important also that you don't necessarily do it alone, so that you have support to help you, and so you can ask your questions and different things like that too. But you'll get a recording for the people that do come. Does a person have to do 101 to 103 to take 104? Yes. But Jay Allen just texted me after. But yes, everybody does have, because the aspect of the creator that I teach about is not the aspect of the creator that belongs to your Abrahamic religions. In the first class, like this aspect, because there's multiple aspects to the creator, and I briefly touch on this in the class. And so the one aspect that I talk about teaches you how to actually get to the heart of God, because so many of our prayers and different things like that go unanswered, or we feel like sometimes, God can't hear us, and that's because sometimes the true God maybe not listening to you. It's probably the demiurge or something else that maybe keeps your prayers from getting to the heavens, right, where they need to go. Because, and I say that because, especially when we speak out loud, right, that is the element of the air, and we have so many different things, going on in the air, and things of that nature. So the aspect of the creator that I teach about in discerning the voice of God is not, you don't know about this aspect. I know you don't know about it. I know people, not you directly, Jay Allen, but just like people in general. I know they don't know about this aspect. But yeah, but you do that. Those are good questions. So thank y'all for asking that. Yes, all the classes are a prerequisite for one another because it's important that you know how to build on these things. And plus, it's not regurgitated. It's original information that helps you to understand the interwovenness of yourself. But yes, Bree, there will be playbacks. Oh, and then Bree, I didn't finish answering your question. I'll be having these classes again. I think the next 101 and 102 might come in July because because in June I'm teaching 3 classes. I'm teaching pendulum dowsing the first week of June, how to dowse with your pendulum. I'm going to be giving you some techniques that are actually very helpful to help you get accurate pendulum dowsing results, right? Um, and then also in June, I'm going to be teaching 103 and 104. So, yeah. Let me put that back up there for anybody watching the playback. They cannot be taken in any order. You can always retake them too, if anybody, or you can just watch a recording. What was his intentions? Oh, Mr. Wall. What was his intentions for? They claim it was just for a game, but my spirit with the capital S tells me that it was something more. That his intentions for creating the board. And William Folt didn't create the board. Supposedly Elijah J. Bond did, but I don't fully think that he did. I know it was a few other people that he worked with too, like to bring the board to fruition because during the 1800s, like the spiritualism movement was like really, really big, like the Great White Brotherhood and seances and different things. Like that was becoming like very popular. And so they would use the board during those types of engagements. And so that's how it kind of gained its popularity. It started out as a game, but then it evolved to, into this thing, right? And if you have any questions, put that in the comment section as well. If you're watching the playback, let me see. But how people that just can channel without any tools, maybe just as you mentioned, prayer and meditation. Some people are just natural channels, Bree. And sometimes those people too, when they're channeled, because you channel from your crown, right? Like it comes through like your crown chakra. And so some people's crown or their channels are just open. And when they're just open and you're not aware of it, sometimes things can go irie, you know. Um and I want to be careful with the next thing I'm about to say because I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist. I majored in I got my bachelor's in psychology and in concentration in behavioral neuroscience. Baby, I am nobody's psychologist. Okay, I'm not. But and nor diagnostician. Okay. But that's also why some people that may suffer from like your schizophrenia, your bipolar disorder, other very extreme mood disorders like ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder, and just so like many different things that people may suffer from. Sometimes they can be an open channel. That's not always the case. That is not always the case. Not always the case, but sometimes. And people can just channel, and that's why I have the set of spirit communication classes, because you might find that some of your channels might be able to safely open, right? And so we talk about that a little bit in the classes too, if it comes up for people. If it doesn't come up for people, I don't introduce certain things. But if it comes up for people in class, then I discuss certain things, because everything ain't for everybody. Okay, I think I'm caught up on all the questions. I might sign up for them because I want to know more about God and my higher self. Yeah. So the voice of God is different from Ori, higher voice. That will be interesting to practice. Yes. So the voice of God class, these are all separate classes. So 101 is going to be next Saturday. 102 is going to be the following Sunday. And then 103 and 104, they're going to be happening in June. But Pendulum Dowsing is going to be happening June 7th. So no, don't apologize. It's okay. So will the spirit communication sort of like help with channeling or different? If you are meant to channel, yes. And if you want to channel, yes. It will help with that. It'll help to develop your mediumship abilities and your psychic abilities and different things of that nature in a safe way, because you are building your spiritual foundation. And what makes stuff like this is unsafe is when people go outside of their spiritual foundation, right? When they want to go and channel, they think they channeling Archangel Azrael or something, you know, or they think they channeling Archangel Michael, you know, or something, and it might not be. Or they think they are channeling, you know, some other deity, or you know, or different things like, you know, an alien, right? Or extraterrestrial, and they go out of order. And so these classes help you to build your spiritual foundation in an order so that you can do your spiritual work in order, in unison, in harmony, and not have all these different things, you know, whether they are good or, you know, or otherwise interfering, you know, with your life and your spiritual development. Which class might assist us with archangel communication? You know, it's funny that you say that because the classes aren't going to stop at 104. They are going to go beyond. And so all of them will help you to assist with angel communication. I would say the foundational classes of 101 and 102, and then the spirit guide. Because if you have an angel in your spiritual court, they're acting as a spiritual guide, not an ancestor. Yeah, these class, yeah, the creator told me, and my folks was like, "We not stopping at 104. 104 is just the initial set to get people going, but it's gonna be, it's gonna be extensive. So I'm excited to see what they want me to bring to the people. But most definitely, the spirit guide communication is going to assist you with angel communication, because you might have different angels in your spiritual court. You need to know how to communicate with them, what they sound like, or better yet, how they communicate with you. So yeah. Any other questions? These were all really great questions. Bree and Jay Allen. Okay, you got another question? Okay, go ahead. If you're watching the playback, I'm gonna try to put timestamps. Try, emphasis on try. Okay. Has Bree left us? Oh, no questions? Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Bree and Jay Allen, for joining me. OMG. I was saying yes to something else. Oh, okay. Got it. And thank you for everyone who watches the playback. If you have any additional questions about anything, of course, put those in the description box. I'm sorry, not the description box, in the comment section. If you have had any of your own creepy, or not even creepy, just experiences with the Ouija board, or never had anything happen with the Ouija board, put that also as well in the comment. In the comment section, because I'm looking forward to reading what you all have to say. But like the video, thumbs up, and I will see you all in the next one or on my calendar. Peace, everybody. Have a good one.